Yeah.
Good evening, everybody. It's Wednesday, January 15th, 2022. This is the Charter Review Commission. Welcome all our viewers, and of course, commission members and audience and folks showed up today. Madam Clerk, we possibly have a roll call, please.
Chairman Johnny Giossi,
Present, please.
Vice Chairman Oscar Vargas,
Present.
Councilwoman Carmen Castillo is absent, Commissioner Brian Principe,
Present.
Commissioner Nina Pande is absent, Commissioner Helen Sinar, Commissioner Tiana Ochoa is absent, Commissioner Robert Rishi,
Present.
Commissioner Dr. Wayne Montague.
Present.
We have 6 present and 3 absent. We have a quorum.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. I think, I guess the first item, do we have, I guess, it looks like there was a charrette held by Commissioner Brian Fitzgerald, is that right? Did that happen? Yes. So, do you want to give us a sense of how it works, item number 1?
And you do have the letter in your packet, sir.
Is this right here?
Yes.
Oh, okay, good. So, commissioners can take a look at it if you want.
Yeah, I think that's good too.
So, give us
So,
a quick overview.
obviously, Mr. Chair, Council President, members of the commission, so we had a good, community conversation on June 6th, and there is a good overview here that Chelsea
Okay.
put together. A few things that I might just reiterate to you that I heard about. So definitely heard about. There were a couple of people talking about a reduction in the council size and the addition of at-large council people. Also, someone put in no at-large, reduce council size 7 to 9 and make the position full-time. Global change in the document reflecting positions as gender neutral. An item to revise the timeline to allow for more time for the ward boundaries districting commission. Include supporting documents on agendas. That's probably more of a policy thing than anything else. A database of suggested changes to the charter are available online. We might have that already.
I think that we have a charter page and post
Yes.
stuff.
Yes, we do. And on the council page, it's also in Spanish.
Excellent. Language on equity in the charter and giving priority to city residents, so incorporating that into the document itself. Also mechanisms for housing affordability. And to, this is actually from 2 people, to give greater weight to neighborhood plans and any revisions to the comprehensive plan. And maybe even make a requirement that the neighborhood plans are an actual component of the town. There were very good suggestions from people, some who were physically present and others who participated through the remote meetings.
So before I ask the question on this, can we enter this into the record as exhibit what? Madam Clerk?
22.
Exhibit 22?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to enter this as exhibit 22.
Mr. Ritchie does that? Mr. Seconds it? Discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
This we announce it officially, okay? So, commissioners, do you have any comments on the report or from Commissioner?
I would say some of this is related to the charter and some of it that's comprehensive plan is for my state statute. I
Yes.
don't think it's. So, but I know it's good, so this is a reference, something related comes up that we plan.
Yeah.
The box.
I just like to say they hold.
Seems like a few months.
Oh, you definitely turned the cup there.
Yeah.
That's excellent. Any of the comments, questions on this item? I want to thank you for hosting it and getting folks to be engaged. I have to concur the majority of the stuff with Mr. Ritchie, affordable housing, I feel like charter, it's kind of a policy or funding mechanism. So you really can't put that in the charter. For example, the census is really not a charter. Some of the stuff is kind of really not, you don't put that in the charter. So they're all valid issues and policies and concerns, but I agree. Majority, they don't.
I like the idea that we have the website,
Yeah.
because if they do want to call
Okay.
a commissioner or a council person, say, really, would like that change. Or plus, there's no support for the change.
Right.
We finally sent forward. But it is good because a lot of these people did respond to that without reach.
And I do like the sixth one, but it's not really in a charter thing. I have no problem with the students from Providence, Korean Tech to work on the city automotive maintenance thing. I think it's more of a policy thing. We say,
Yeah.
okay, you do that versus.
That's a great idea.
I like the idea.
I think that though, we don't really have a maintenance department, do we? We've got the subcontract. Put that in the
That-
contract.
I know, within a contract, and we probably have to get the union buy-in, because you can't take away union.
But if it's subcontract out to an outside vendor.
Oh, yeah, I know, that would be. I think that's something to look at.
I don't know if the city still.
Oh, you're right. Yeah.
They got out of a lot of, cheaper to.
Just contract it out.
Contract it out.
So I do like number six, it doesn't go in the charter. I think that's a great idea to have our young men and women and folks be engaged and have that kind of hands-on experience. That's really good. So, thank you. So I guess next is any other comments, questions? With that, we have item number 2, Madam Clerk, which is discussion review of proposed charter amendments to dates, and I believe this is what the second big sheet is, right? And it's one, we'll enter this into the record, 1, 2, 3, and I know it's a living document right now, but when we enter into the record, it's exhibit 23.
Chairman, I make that motion.
Thank you.
And I would ask that we date it also for 6/15/22, because it's a living document. Commissioner Ritchie makes that motion, second one. Commissioner Monk, discussion, all in favor? Aye. So I think some of these things we maybe can start looking at it and consider paring it down.
Yes, I was exactly going to say that.
Is that good, good position?
Mr. Chairman, just,
Yes.
we've been meeting, myself, Claire, Chelsea, and Sean, to compile the list. Some of the stuff we're a little more advanced on than what you see. But as you just pointed out, we're looking for direction from the body, because although, I mean, they are very good suggestions and warranted, it's realistically, to have all of these on the ballot,
It's just not.
voters will be frustrated, and we've seen this before, it's something that's too long, especially with, a general election, and, council, mayor, as well as the general electors, so they will, they just will be frustrated and not vote for anything, so. I think we're at the point to stop tearing things down, and then once they're teared down, we can provide a better response as far as language and whatnot for the committee.
So could I avail you of maybe to go to this one?
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, and I guess we'll start with the first
Mr.
one.
Chairman, before we start,
Commissioner Mitchell, sir?
so you can throw it, we make 3 categories. First category, we're going to consider it a way to actually go about. Second category, we're going to just eliminate completely.
Maybe a policy.
Right, that's what I'm
City
getting
order.
at. Or, policy or city order to put it in another bucket. Instead of just scrapping it.
So we can make, so we can potentially make, I agree with you, because you suggested like this to be the charter, and then you suggested these, you actually make ordinance changes or potential policy changes. You could, if you want.
You're right, and there's some that might have to be changed by the charter, so they may have to be eliminated, that would be the third one. That you can't do it by policy, but we don't feel because of the ballot limitations, or the
Right.
where they can make it to the ballot. If
Oh,
you
you're
should have
still-
priority, the better ideas, they should make it.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Commissioners, you
Yeah,
fine with
makes
that?
sense.
So why don't we go with the first one, which is ward boundaries.
So, Mr. Chairman, we had the chairperson here, And she provided some recommendations relative to getting out or providing additional time in advertising for the hearing. The advertisement portion, we can lump in with the general advertisement provision that we talked about. But I mean, I think the question is, does the committee think additional time is needed?
I mean, right now, is the charter actually set the time?
Let's go to school form.
I'm trying to remember. Does it actually set the?
I believe it does, yes.
Beyond that, Mr. Chairman, I would ask, what's the timing the problem?
Yeah, I don't know.
You know,
That's a great question.
Any insight on whether timing is a crime?
But I think it was because.
Do you not have your charter?
Is it in here? Oh, I mean, no, it's in your.
State,
Yeah, it's both.
No, no, that's right.
No, it should be in buried, it should be in the.
No, those are the exhibits.
Right.
It does. First meeting in January. They could have a formal meeting today, January, preliminary meetings and not violate the charter. I think we're gonna take them on that.
So, so I think maybe start earlier, like the year prior.
I think the end product, I think what I think it was Jessica was saying was the state does theirs. And then, you know, we're after the fact. So they've already done theirs and had their redistricting set. And then I'd like to have
I
ours
guess the
set
question,
first.
what does it matter if the states are done or not? In that sense, and the
Because they're
second
all
thing is, because the other thing is, doesn't what drive us first is the census?
Yes, so
Exactly.
you gotta wait for that anyhow.
That's the big thing, you're gonna wait for the census, you're gonna wait for the census, right? Councilman,
Thank you, Council President. I'll just say that having, been very involved in this, I mean, you actually, I believe it's local first. That once you have the state districts, the Senate district, the rep districts laid down over, it really kind of prohibits us from doing a lot
oh,
on the local level, and it really showed its head this year, I think, during our process. So I think what Jess Signa is trying to do is, why shouldn't it be us first?
but is it just been like that because of timing and not necessarily because it was by law? I mean, my point is that, for sake of conversation, let's say they sped up really quick, the ward boundaries committee got it done. They potentially could have got it done before the state, but the question comes down, just the way it's been going, it's the opposite, right? That's not, am I getting it right? I was like, it's not like, there's no law that says the city has to wait. Is there to after the state? Is there?
I don't know. I mean,
You know what I'm
just.
saying? Is it, I don't
But
know.
I know, I think, as the councilwoman pointed out, our hands are essentially tied.
No, I
as to
see your
what we
point,
can
I
do.
see your
So
point.
Once the state.
Once the
has-
state's done their.
And then
redistricting.
we're like, oh my gosh, well, you just divided because of the way you do your lines, we're prohibited from taking our, it just seems to me at a local level that we should be able to drive that bus.
So does, and I have that's a great statement, and I'm wondering if, let's say we did do it before the state, could the state somehow override what we, I don't know. The question I have is, would the state's maps then force us to go back? I don't have that answer.
Probably,
And
because
if it is, then that's what the problem. Now, I'm fine giving more time. I like the idea of the city first in, but the question is, let's say you did it. How much, I don't know if that ever happened. We did it, we got it done, here it is. We passed it, got the whole 9 yards. Then the state comes in and they go, hold it.
you're still gonna have to modify it to put the state plans
Yeah.
in terms of the whole places or whatever issues there are. I doubt the state's going to be.
Does the state force us to then go back and the drawing board and modify? Commissioner,
So I recall that at certain voting places, there might be whatever the voting place might be, City Hall A and B, right? Because some of the residents who might be voting in City Hall for city purposes, some of them, depending on where they're living, might be voting for different candidates or, it's for state level. So can't we account for that anyway? So even, I say, I love the idea of voting first, but even if their maps don't jive, they have the possibility of then splitting certain voting locations into A's and B's, especially with the council. Most likely.
I think that's what happened. I had a situation in Ward 2 where I wanted to take back a neighborhood, make a neighborhood whole, but I couldn't because you're right, that was the issue. There were different state reps. It was, they had to print extra ballots. It became a cost. And then I think there's some other boundary issues also that to play. Sorry, I'm not over.
That does go first solve that problem.
Like that's.
I don't think so.
I don't know.
I don't know.
I'm reading, Mr. Chairman, if I may, I'm reading Jessica's recommendation relative to the redrawing of maps. So the committee should be able to redraw its maps prior to the state beginning its redrawing process. This would create one time to perform the redistricting process and may give more opportunity to reconnect neighborhood pieces of boards as state district lines would not necessarily need to be a considered factor. Drawing of what boundaries before the state process would give more time for public participation, education, and drawing consideration. It would allow for greater ability to consider reconfiguring the boundaries without the complication of considering state and congressional lines. So I can reach out. This could go to the maybe category and reach out to her and get more clarity on if in fact the committee was willing to entertain that. Could the state, from what her recollection is of her understanding, and also look at it and then report back to the committee. Then in the maybe.
I mean, for me, I would have no problem giving you more time to do it. I just don't know. Does it solve a problem, create a problem, or anything just being intended to stay the same and just changing the charter?
Can I also ask a question?
Yeah. That's the question I don't know.
Not that I'm suggesting violating the city charter. But because we got 3 people.
Right.
Do we have to change the time in the charter or putting this stop preliminary background or prior to its first official meeting?
I don't see why you couldn't start from the compilation of information in anticipation of getting ready for what boundaries.
Because that in January, we have our first meeting and a lot more information than we would wait until January for the process. Might be able to solve it that way.
Right, I get it. All right. All right, let's, can you flush that out?
I can certainly contact her tomorrow.
I guess let's go to the next one. Oh,
I'm sorry, but this, we're talking about every 10 years. For this.
yeah, every 10 years. Well, every 10 years is
For the one-
a charter, is an official charter review process. But I could be wrong, but it doesn't mean you have to wait every 10 years to propose charter changes. I could be wrong, but I think you can propose different charter changes. Unless you're there, you can. I don't think you're prohibited. I think this just simply says that it establishes a guaranteed charter review process. For example, does the State House, do they have to wait? I mean, can't they say they want to do a constitution, they vote on a constitutional convention, and they can do it, and, or do they, or
There's
they,
a process, I think they.
but you know what I'm saying, like,
I don't know.
can you find out, because I'm wondering, that, do you have to, I think you have to wait for an election, but I don't think,
It's organic, whenever they want to do it. they should
but
get it
I think this, what the charter does, it provides, that there's always a guaranteed every 10 years, a charter review, check off, but I think during the years, that any council could petition a charter proposed change to the public, like we put other things in the ballot. I think we can do that, and I'm going to defend the city solicitor. And I think that's the question you asked, is that right?
There's any clarity on it.
Yeah, I'm asking,
You know,
you know, I think this is about guaranteeing a review. It doesn't mean it
It
prohibits you
forces the
from
city to review its
review no
charter.
matter what, but
But
it
if
doesn't
there's a
mean
major issue,
you can
probably could do
propose a charter change, right? I think you can. Does, the city system is new.
Actually, if you look at section 1302,
See, oh, there we go. Yeah.
It does say upon submission of such petitions to the city council.
Right, so that my interpretation, the first question, I think the council every year could submit a proposed charter change before the voting, for a voting public. But this is saying that you, because it's the council that determines that goes before on the ballot. So if you can verify that, I think it's the case. Number one is 203 enforcement, declaration of vacancy by 2/3. Oh, the vacancy of a council seat?
Where's this now?
I don't know.
I don't remember this. Is this a problem?
I don't know.
Well, I guess it could be political, let's say someone.
It was discussed at a previous meeting of whether you needed an actual 2/3 vote.
I remember that meeting. That's the law.
Mr. Chairman, let me go back quickly because 1302 does provide at any time the appointment of a charter review commission may be requested by petition containing at least 3,000 valid signatures of qualified voters of the city. Upon submission of such petition to the city council, the commission shall be appointed. There is a limitation of 8 months from the date of the last appointment. So yes, it can be done, provided that there's some requirements that are met for 3,000 valid signatures. It can't be within a certain period of the 10-year commission. So it appears that it does provide for a commission.
The next one, I don't know what that's about, so I'm gonna punt on that. I'm gonna say, it's okay. Someone can tell me, I don't know what that means, so I'm gonna
God
say.
forbid if somebody passes away, well, I guess.
I don't.
But theoretically, politically, someone may not want to fill a council seat to maintain or something. I don't know. But I don't think it's an issue that in this long list we need to.
I know, because it's, I don't think we would, I think we're fine. I think so, I don't know. I mean, the next one, policy is the mayor. Well, this has to do with directors, we have reappointed, starting each term as mayor. So that's got to do with the idea of the whole idea that a new term happens, just because you got reelected. The idea would be these department heads would still have to come before and be reappointed by the mayor, like your appointment's not in perpetuity. And then, of course, the what do you call it, the case that it was Commissioner Perry, where he hasn't been submitted to the council or reappointed since Tavares. So the lack of that, the Commissioner of Public Safety, who is has such a role. There've been several classes of councils that have never had an opportunity to vet, review, or have a say in that appointment. That's what that's about. The idea is to find that they get new mayor doesn't mean new person, just be it's a new term, get really elected, maybe the same person, but you reappoint, you submit your directives, review to the body. That's what that's about. It's about accountability, and it's about all the things people talk about, full disclosure, transparency. You still have new council members come and go. One term, we can have 2 or 3 different council members. One term, they get an opportunity to vet, So it's a way to, that's what that's about. My position is I do hats. I like that because I think it helps keep an even playing field. That's why I'm. Commissioners,
I'm mixed on it, but I definitely don't like the penalty. I don't think we should. What penalty gonna assess the mayor? So I mean, that's not.
I like the first one.
This is my
Yeah,
opinion.
no.
So maybe we can push it for
Did we hit a public stockade? I don't know, with a classic, with the head of the home store? I agree with that, I don't know what the penalty is. I don't know what that means.
I'm with Bob.
But I do like the idea that the charter would compel a reappointment. And then the person would fall on a 90-day, charter provides that you fall on a 90-day conundrum where you serve that position for 90 days.
Currently, do all the directors come except the commissioner?
No.
I know,
Here's my-
some do, some don't. It depends how they, depends, because not every director is submitted to the council, submitted to, appointed by the mayor and vetted by the
Well,
council.
I was just
So-
talking about
so-
those that receive council confirmation.
No, the ones that receive council confirmation, they don't, they should come back, they don't.
But
Depends on
they
the
don't.
origin of where that department. Council origin has to come from.
Right, so if the charter's requiring funding by the mayor, confirmation by the council, that's what we're talking about. Where, for instance, the finance director would be someone who I think would fall under that.
Yeah.
Or then, how about the assessor, the collector? Would not, because they're department heads.
Yeah, they get.
All right, so we got this one class that has council confirmation.
Right,
So that's the class you're talking.
we're talking about the class,
But
like,
they don't come back necessarily. It's not just the commissioner's position that hasn't come back. Others have not.
Yeah, yeah. Which
My concern with this is just, quite frankly speaking, is sometimes these things can get caught up in a lot of politics. And a lot of, oh, I don't like the city services the way they live in my area or whatever. And I don't know if advice and consent is to test the competency of the appointment. Or do you envision this as a job review?
Well,
Because I don't see it.
see,
as a job.
I think it's a combination of both, because here's the question. I don't necessarily think it's a politics when someone says, okay, you're appointed, you're submitted by the mayor, you're appointed by, as a director of the department is, right? You've done 4 years, you've done a miserable, horrible job, and then you should be held accountable. Or you've done a great job, and you'd be, extolled, and then you get resubmitted by the mayor, and you get reviewed.
But the mayor, that's the mayor's prerogative to choose his directors. He has to,
You're correct.
he or she has to manage the government, he or she has to face
Yeah,
the
but that's
budget.
your, but it's
And if he
also.
has
Yeah,
the
but my argument
fully
is this,
performing directors, it would reflect
you're correct,
on the
but
administration.
the bottom is the mayor's authority is only for 4 years. Every mayor gets elected, their authority is still defined by that 4-year term.
So I would definitely agree, and your appointment should come before the council. I don't know if I see the need to test the competency necessarily in terms of qualifications. So if you're supposed to be, and you're supposed to have a certain background, employment history. Is there another mechanism in the charter to remove the director around the mayor? If the director was
Yes.
that way, would, like that, or, that.
Not 403. 403 is for appointment. There is a provision that allows you to remove directors. I'll pull it up while you continue to discuss.
Well, I think it should be a job review, because the main council role is to have city government function and perform for the constituents they represent. So, and I also find, and I hear it a lot. And this is the funny thing, it's like, the council has concerns, it's political. The executive branch has concerns, it's governmental. And I find that very interesting.
Well,
And then- let me-
I'm definitely not gonna say.
No, 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 no.
I was talking
I'm-
in
I'm-
general,
I'm-
all the way, like, we look at a Supreme Court justice in Washington. Advice and consent is going to, not blow away at Washington. And I don't want to see that happen,
That's true.
tangle up the works of day-to-day city government, but there should be a provision around, let's say you confirm me tomorrow as director or something. And then within 6 months, I'm a total disaster. You shouldn't be stuck with me for 4 years if it's that bad. Is that?
Well, let's see how multiple levels. I don't know, I think there's something we said about it, my mind, is that it's also a chance for the public and people sometimes, that when you get vetted or you get appointed by the mayor, vetted by the council, It's also the public's opportunity to hold that director accountable. It's an opportunity for that to say, oh, don't forget, council members, this is representing from democracy, right? The public, and our job is to give the voice to the voices, give an opportunity for our constituents to say, I don't know if this person, this individual is performing the way they should, paying high taxes, and I want to see it happen. So I think that gives the opportunity. Remember, when the mayor submits, there's no public vetting of the mayor. The mayor just simply says, so and so, and then they have a one-time public vetting and that's that. So, I don't know. I mean, I think it becomes a greater accountability for government to function according to people that they're supposed to perform. That's right. And I also think that what happens is, listen, it also makes, it makes a mayor thing. The past 4 years maybe haven't been that good. Maybe I won't be able to get those 8 votes because this person hasn't really performed the way he should perform. And then the mayor starts, he says, well, maybe I need to reassess this point, maybe reassess who I should get. So there's something to say about that too, right?
Yes.
I mean, so it does create
Raise the standard to a higher level
a performance. I mean, and not that all our directors aren't high performing individuals, I'm not gonna get into that, but we do have our conundrums here, and there, issues and roadblocks. And so there's something in that.
We're talking about the future directors that we don't know positions.
Yeah,
I understand.
it's something to be said about that, and I don't, I mean, like, listen, if, I think it can only help, but I see your point.
I think the chairman had it correct. Like, 403 does also reference the
You can do that, exactly.
And
That, we all enjoyed that ride, right? Councilwoman Anthony, you enjoyed that ride, that 402 ride, right?
Does the councilwoman have anything to say regarding this?
It's a hard one, I'm gonna say,
It is,
because
very
the
hard.
council president always says it's a balance of powers, we have to have a balance. But then when I think about, we have, I think appointments we do on the city council, city treasurer, some other departments, and I don't know that we have any ability to approve or have oversight. on
No, we do,
that.
every 4 years they get reappointed by the council,
Does he have authority?
every 4 years. No, those are exclusive council, just like there's exclusive mayor appointments that don't go to the council, exclusive council.
We need to check on that.
Exactly.
But the difference in that is that they have a specific term. So like a judge. a municipal court judge. I think the treasurer.
I think
They have a term where the department head does not have a term. And the mayor can change the department head, it's an Apple employee without a term, and that's the difference.
And then you taking that to its conclusion, so say we do have a midterm, we do have someone come back, second term, mayor's second term, and then we decide we're not gonna approve that, so then we have the right to get rid of them. Is that the logical conclusion?
Well, you don't end up voting no, right?
Right, so we all end up voting no, and it needs, do they need our approval? Does he need? our
Oh, no,
approval?
for certain ones that get submitted by the mayor, get approved by the council.
Today, he
Not
does
all of
not, that's the proposed change to make.
I
it
was
subject to
Commissioner Perry, the commissioner position, right? 12 years ago, he was submitted by that mayor at the time, vetted by the council, the public, and we had a chance to hear what he had to say, stuff, and it was this administration that determined that unilaterally that you don't have to resubmit anymore. Prior to Tavares, the Commissioner of Public Safety was always reappointed to submit to the council when I was there, by the even as far back as, if we speak his name, Buddy Cianci. Every 4 years, he would submit the names, and they would all come before the council. So they all did, Cianci, Cicilline, Tavares. When this present mayor came, they made a decision, they made a charter interpretation that said, you don't have to do that. And then, of course, there's no charter, that plays out. And so, and you lost that right 8 years ago, and then the council lost the right 4 years ago. So for me, it's about, you never experienced it because you haven't been here long enough. I did, and they did it. Now it stopped. So my feeling is, I don't know, we need to probably have to look at the charter and maybe reinvigorate and reestablish that. If you want to interpret it, or maybe that past practice, because it's something, I mean, that to me created the kind so other mayors did the right thing, I thought, and in my mind, this.
So maybe it's the change of mayor, the change in mayor should trigger a renewal.
Should we
So
do
in
that?
other words, if there's a new mayor that comes in, part of me thinks the mayor that's sitting, you're right, we should review all of his department heads at that time, and then if he wants to continue them until he leaves, that seems reasonable, but you're right, I didn't know they were carried mayor to mayor to mayor, and that doesn't seem right.
So the other mayors did it,
Is staying with that thought.
so that may be a happy
The new
meeting.
person, Councilman Nicky suggested a new mayor, so then we would reappoint. If that new mayor wished to retain directors, they would be appointed. But I do think if the new mayor, or even the current mayor, if someone left, they ask someone to leave, a new appointment comes before.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you use what you just mentioned, which is a new mayor comes in, and that new mayor, no matter what, maybe that's the thing, is the catch that says,
It's not about.
you have to, even though they may say you keep Commissioner Perry, a new mayor gets elected, let's play this out, new mayor gets elected, still may want to keep Commissioner Perry. That new mayor, whoever the person is, because it's a new term of a new mayor, I think that's what you're thinking, would now have to resubmit Commissioner Perry as the Commissioner of Public Safety, because it's a new mayor, right?
A new administration.
New administration. So,
Why would he have to do that?
well,
I'm the mayor, I'm the mayor, and Mr. Parry said, sir, I come in, I want to keep Commissioner Parry. Why do I have to submit to him?
well, I think that this has got to do with the accountability conversation, which is this. The last time he had an vetting or a review was 2 administrations ago, it was 12 years ago. In which the public had an opportunity to even have a conversation about his job performance. So now, what's happening here is, you gotta have a meeting, either one, you continue what happens, which is now, this present administration has chosen to ignore, I'll use this term right now, past practice, right? In which they would always, every term, even when that mayor gonna be elected, they would submit their director. It was part of their process, it's just a thing. So now, and I'm not gonna get into the interpretation. Question is, do we solidify that either in a sense that a new administration comes in, they have to submit, whether that person's in or not, they have to submit all their appointments from ground up, and then that person in theory can stay as long as that term. So it's a little bit like that.
Where we differ, I see this as advice and consent, you see this as a job review.
Well, I think it has to, because advice and
That's where
consent,
we differ.
because no,
That's what I understand.
because in the Senate level, when you talk about the US Senate, those are lifetime appointments.
I was just using that as.
So that's what we're having our
You know what I'm
difference.
saying?
They're all about
The
lifetime
the-
appointments, they're advice and
Right, I
consent.
mean, like these right here,
About people appointed to
we
the
should,
SEC
we
and
should
other
treat
federal agencies, it gets super politicized.
well, listen, should we be treating these types of directors, whoever they are, as lifetime appointments? And that's the point, and this would be the case, and then do we have to go through such extreme measures of a 403 process? Because the hurdles, about the hurdles are so difficult, for that type of accountability.
I'm open-minded on.
I just don't-
eliminating things, so oppose it.
Like, in her mind, I think that has some merit, it just gives a happy meeting, I don't know. Councilman Anthony, what do you think?
No,
You
I-
came up with an
I-
idea, I think you read your idea.
No, I mean, I was just trying to find a medium ground, but I also will say that, the advice and consent
Exactly.
it's hard, because,
It is
I
hard.
think that they should have some latitude. He's the mayor, he should have some latitude. in his approach.
If I may. So
Commissioner, Councilman,
the mayor gets latitude by being able to appoint without the question of consent. At will. As it relates to directors, their more prominent roles, I think we should also consider that in any given election cycle, even if there is a mayor who's staying on, that there could be any number of new council members who also should have the ability to be able to vet those directives for the upcoming term, in which they're serving. And look, if the directors are doing the good job that most of them, not all of them do, it shouldn't be an issue. They should be actually very happy and willing to go before the process of approval. So I think at the very least, it should be, if there's a new mayor, but I firmly believe that it should go by term. And if the mayor's voted in for a second term, then there's a second time that those department heads get submitted, then yeah, part of it is job performance, and there should be a public vetting of that. It's not a matter of qualifications, right? That department head wouldn't have been approved in the first place if not for qualifications. But after that, yeah, and the public should have a say directly through council and through the process, and for that matter, through the mayor, for reappointment. So I'm in full support of complete change to clarify this in the charter, so there's no more room for interpretation. Situation we've seen over the past 3 years.
So I'm just for a second, I asked any other comments, questions? Guys, this is the check. I don't know, fine tune this, and then the charter review commission can make a decision at the end.
And I just want to make sure I'm hearing you correctly. So, and there has been inconsistency on the deputy director, various directors over time in administration. So what I think I'm hearing is that, subject to 1201, it's, appointment and consent. However, the triggering event would be a new term for the mayor. So assuming mayor's elected, a position's appointed, confirmed by the council, the mayor's then re-elected to the second term, the directors would be subject to appointment and consent, just as though they were in the first. That's how.
That's one way. The other way was, I think what they were talking about is that a new mayor gets elected and they get, it's one and done for the 2 terms.
The first way, you've now given these directors, you've changed their appointment status to a term, the way others are. Yeah, so you've changed the directors, and put them into that categorized term. The second way, it's still a term, let's concurrent with the mayor. The appointed mayor. That would be the 2 options. I don't know. It's only one, but I think Mr. Frame, those would be the 2 options.
Yeah, and I just want to dovetail Commissioner Fitzgerald, but he's been appointed because there's been numerous times when we have these new council members come in a new term. Excuse me, the second term of the existing mayor, and they had no opportunity on behalf of their constituents to have any review, vetting of those two. So there's something to be said about that too, which has got to do with the balance of power, which is a new council person. Okay, so something to think
But
about.
it's the same qualifications that I see with the previous council, so I don't know what I think the role is this place. And I think the mayor would feel the heat, if not directly that was that much underperforming. You're gonna hear from the council has other ways, and the public has other ways. You just cannot, in these positions, you cannot perform. And the mayor is entitled to this directly. Tie him up, he or she up, that they can't because of political differences with the council, potentially, or personality differences, or whatever.
I agree with Commissioner Ritchie, and I'd like to see this. I agree with you.
But we have agreed with them to meet the penalties, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Oh, definitely.
I don't think we're doing that. We have a penalty box in hockey. We have to go with it's gonna, I guess the next one, it's the 401D, does it need to be 2/3 vote? Okay, this is for.
Two-thirds is 10.
Yeah, I guess it's 10, isn't it? Or is it a simple majority? I think that's what we propose, either or you keep it the same.
You know, I'm okay with keeping it the same. I do think, though, we did have a robust discussion about the open meeting law, an employee right to a private hearing. Not that the entire process is private. An executive session, private after one of
I'm sorry.
So you could get, so I've done a lot of these, not 403, we've never had it. We've done the fire trial. And it's an archaic, outdated system because you have arbitration, but on the fire side, the fire department, the fire union likes to have the first chance to see the charges. So we do them with the probate court, and pursuant to state law, you allow the individual to have the meeting closed session, but they do have the ability to have an open session.
I think we.
Yeah, and actually, we've had people that have waived it, and, you know, we were gearing up for one last fall, and the individual was looking to have an open session.
So that would probably apply here.
I would think so.
State law will control. That's the point, right? Washington goes into executive session.
The other thing is about the administrative assistants that you need a simple majority to. This is when it gets to do with council appointees, not have to go to the mayor, simple majority to appoint this person, but then you need 2/3 to deal with any 403 violations. The question is, should it be that high standard? If it's simple to get in, it's very simple to get out. That was the question, if I remember correctly.
For the council.
Yeah, this is council appointments,
Yeah.
not mayors.
I agree. I think so.
It's almost looking at will.
Exactly.
Mayor's going to add
Took the
will.
words right out of my mouth, except the council, not one person, so the majority needs to got control whether or not they come up, they stay. It's an at-will employee, they are at-will employees, unless they have, you know, a locked-in 4-year term.
Right.
I think if it takes 4 to get the majority to get it, I'm okay with a majority. Just the way the mayor can remove the department head or department director unilaterally. For no reason, good reason, bad reason, I think that council should have that same authority to control its staff.
I agree with you because going through what we went through and the charges were so serious and so detrimental to what was going on. I mean, it was a serious, but I don't want to get into too much, but it just was, you know, it was a horrific situation, and yet to address a serious situation through this, you know, almost mental health, a political forum when they were dealing with a serious subject matter, what the charges were. You know, it was serious. This wasn't about like someone that returned phone calls. These were serious allegations, serious
Even
misconduct.
without serious allegations.
No,
the
I'm saying,
council should be able to
we were in the
remove
extreme.
somebody.
I know, we have to sell, and remove and go.
Right.
Versus,
You have to, the council has to manage it,
yeah,
and they have to be comfortable and confident in
who they elect.
top people that they're appointed and need to get in, need to get out. Kind of thing.
It's all consequences.
No, the mayor 401 is a different.
No,
section.
it's
all
all
about the mayor.
so 403 deals with the council bringing charges against the director, a head of an agency, department head, any deputy, any appointed officer of the city, any appointee of the city council, any appointee of the mayor, except the staff of the mayor's office. for neglect of duty or gross misconduct, having an effect on the discharge of the duty. So any one of that, any individual that group, the process is 403.
I don't necessarily have an issue with keeping it 2/3 for those other kinds of appointments, but for strict council appointments, it should be, easy in and out. And I think you also have to expand what those problems are, because these definitional terms, no one was paid. I'll be perfectly, neglect of duty and gross misconduct, like people were trying to parcel out, there's alleged bullying and inappropriate, whatever, those types of conduct. And then so it's like you need to kind of make sure that you can address these situations.
How about I'll take a stab at that, consistent with general policy that we've used on what is included but not limited to the
Yeah, we
following.
need to do that.
And you want to bifurcate or separate mayor staff, mayor's appointments and whatnot as 2/3, any council appointees as a majority.
Oh, would you want to, what do you think, Councilman?
Well, I thank you, and I'm sorry I have to leave. This is, and I appreciate the ability to have a voice here, but I guess my only concern about the getting away with doing a simple majority rather than 2/3, I think what happened with that, the hearing process was flawed also. And so, I wish if we're gonna look at this, I think the hearing process should be a little more straightforward, and then I'd be fine with simple majority, but I felt like there wasn't any kind of,
Oh, yeah.
there wasn't a process, and if we had a process, I'd be all right with a simple majority, but there wasn't, so it didn't feel like sometimes it feels like the accused may not have had their day in court, meaning us, we're holding the council here.
Yeah, there's no direction in the job. Who's going to have to agree?
Well, I got to kudos to the city solicitor's office did an excellent job of putting together a really good due process. I mean, they really worked hard. I got it, and they did a really good job. I'm not saying it was perfect, but I don't know, but what I saw was they made a huge effort trying to make sure that the due process rights of the accused was not abridged. And I think you guys, and I understand, I want to give you copies because it was a difficult time. And the citizens are doing a very good job, and you're correct, Councilman Anthony, because it's kind of open, but I wanted to,
Let me see if I can replicate that or incorporate that in.
I know you
And
should.
then you can take a look at it and make suggestions based
I
upon
think we need to.
the process that we had outlined, that is not nowhere in.
Because we are becoming more of a teacher society, I think the more clarity in that process will tend to less, as Councilman Anthony mentioned, ambiguity and.
Listening to this, thinking through this. They're saying half-term employees. But they're not at-will employees.
So this
They
is-
have a term.
Right,
So
so.
that's why it has to be a more robust process.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Councilman.
I really appreciate it.
So, Sister, can we prevail,
Yeah, we will work on that.
work, I think that clearly is 401, 403 is something, I know I'm interested in getting clarity. 415. I don't know if that, we're not doing penalties, so just forget that. I'm not, because you guys are, so we can cross off that 415.
I don't even understand what that is. Is that from the finance office?
You have them in your packets, anything that was submitted regarding these.
We're not in the move for penalties.
Yeah. 416, acquisition disposal of property, increase the threshold amount from 1,000 to 2,500 for acquisition of property. This was. Is this the idea that be able to actually go to bid?
This was Commissioner Vargas had posed this one, it's in your packet.
What's 416?
Oscar, what is this?
I'm looking for.
You know, I don't know.
It's in your packet, yeah, everybody has copies of
Oh, it
everything that was
says, I
submitted.
think right now it's $2,000, it's saying, right?
There's 1,000.
No, it says 2,000.
What's it right now?
Charter says 2000. It says, public notice shall be given by publication in a newspaper, circulated generally in the city of Providence, once at least 10 days prior to the acquisition of any real property, when the purchase price to be paid to the city equals or exceeds the sum of $2,000. Unless such acquisition is to be accomplished pursuant to general laws of state, say by condemnation and eminent domain proceedings, or unless such acquisition is necessary in connection with public approved proceedings accomplished pursuant to law.
Yeah, that's.
So then you're looking for any city personal property having an appraisal value of $1,000 or less may be sold without public notice or public bid as required by the section. And further, this is probably sold for any reasonable amount. So you're thinking about is that you want to raise the threshold of when the city can sell personal property, and raise it from $1,000 to $2,500. So city can sell personal property without public notice. Am I reading this right? Yeah. Not yet. Without public notice for something $1,000, so you want to make it, you raise it to $2,000, the city can sell that value without public notice up to $2,500. Right? Yeah, I can see that.
They're all in order by number.
I would-
Why don't we come back?
We'll come back to it. All right, we'll leave it on the board. 502.
Why do we think that this is 6 years?
Well, this is kind of, yeah, all the other municipal court districts 4 years, and they're 20.6.
Oh, it is 6, that's what. Because it's really not a municipal court, it's a state court.
But why is it 4 to 6?
What is it now?
It's, right now, it's a 6-year term for probate judge and probate court. And all municipal court, municipal judge, municipal courts are 4 years. And then only the office of the state court, state jurisdiction.
Well, there is no state probate court per se, right? So it really functions as a state court at the municipal level. Where the municipal court is exclusively at the municipal.
Yeah, but 6
May
years seems
not
to
be
be,
totally clear.
6 years seems to be a long term.
This solicitor, was that the state statute?
Can you find what it is? I mean, in my mind, it probably should stay at 4, so the other judges, when they get their appointed. And it's only for that. There's something about, once again, because these are strictly council appointments.
Yes, I know.
So it gives that kind of, and if maybe have to make it 5 years, they should have some consistency. I don't know. But it seems to be more consistent to make it 4 years.
4 years. We're not running up against the state court.
So if there's no state court, Mr. Chevalier, if there's no state law or something, I'm inclined to make it 4. I don't know why we make it 6. Mr. Barrett, that's what we think.
Yeah, I mean, it's not state law. I feel like it's broke in this case. I'm not sure the chief fixed it, but this is an issue he fixed.
I think it creates well, I think for the council, it's more of a council. I think that every new council has an opportunity to appoint.
And then you lose your consistency, and I think that's probably right.
Yeah, but you could argue that for this one, you could argue that for the municipal court too. Because I think you serve it, I think you serve until you're
But now, as far
I
as
think
the
about-
municipal court, this court deals with, there's more body of knowledge required for this court, maybe. Traffic court. Okay. What's the housing court? Is that for as well? Because that's a
Yeah.
state court.
it's 4 years. It's not, it seems kind of, my thing is I'm a pro council, so I always like the idea that, because it's kind of weird. I mean, I always think it's kind of, unless it's, my suggestion, unless it's a state prohibition, I would be inclined to.
Oh,
make
yeah,
it 4
It's
years.
really fine, that out, no matter what.
So that's what I would
How
ask.
do you feel? How do you feel?
I mean, this was never come across my radar, so I wouldn't be bringing this one up myself, but it's on, obviously, the
I had mixed views on it. I have so much material going to the board. Take off.
I think what Commissioner Chris was saying is important.
Exactly.
Since we're limiting. what we-
Exactly.
So, Mr. Chairman, if we look at this issue, maybe bucket, and the solicitor will let us know if it's a state law.
I would just, my, I'm fine with that. My final detail about accountability, especially when there's about accountability. To me, it's an accountability issue. I'll leave it at that.
And now we're going for the clerk as well.
Yeah, the clerk is 6 years.
Clerk sits as the judge in the absence of the judge.
Allegedly.
But is they authorized to do that? Let's say that forbid, you had an innocent, probate court judge, had a medical issue, was out for months. Was it with the clerk sit? Clerk has to be a lawyer.
I know clerk has to be a lawyer. It doesn't say it.
Should there be more than one probate judge? What's the backlog? Which means that.
This is a question.
That's my.
Probably with COVID and everything else, it could be a.
I know they were working locally, I know that the Judge Martinelli had a very busy calendar schedule. And then I think I moved to, he's also the chairman when we do have higher tribal. So,
Yeah, I'm surprised that was supposed to be. No, it's a bit quiet, it's really a full-fledged. Very complex. Just, goes back to Boston Buggy days where everything is out.
Well, can you get some information on this? The next one was, I guess we're going back, it's the city clerk, and do we add clerk qualifications? And there was supposed to be some language provided by this, actually.
It's in your packet.
Is it?
Yeah.
So that was about having greater qualifications.
Only put that in job description, that already in the policy.
Yes, I think we should. That's easier.
I don't think I want to tie the council's hands in the city. But qualifications. They can figure that out themselves when they post the jobs.
I say we can add that, make that a recommendation, add it to the city ordinance.
Put it into
Add
recommendation.
additional recommendation qualifications to the clerk. Season 2, city treasurer, access to all records, and use components and charter for approval and payment. I don't know enough about that. I would think the city treasurer has access to all records. Yeah. I think we put a pin in that one right now, for information. Next one, should the city solicitor appoint legal counsel designated to advise the city council? So this year is always a bone of contention. I'll give you an example. In the state house, the legislature will send a house, they have their legal counsel, right? They have a cadre of legal eagles that they have, right? in the Senate House. But in the city council level, if the city council is looking for that, as you know, and if you go, by the way, the other position, city solicitor gets appointed by the mayor, vetted by the council, and then it's for 4-year term, or in this case, it's for 8 years, right, or 12 years, etc. And for the council to acquire legal representation, the council has to go to a machination of acquiring 2/3 vote on council to hire legal counsel. Now, let's put this in perspective. Council needs immediate legal advice. Has to stop. Have a meeting, get the votes, go through that process. Meanwhile, the legal issue over the past. they don't necessarily have the opportunity. There's times where, I give you an example, way back when, a mayor, what it was that, it's a good thing or bad thing, but all contracts would be unilaterally signed by the mayor of Providence. At that time then, the city council, they together, at the higher attorney, won in court that in order for a city contract to be enforceable, it had to be submitted to the city council for approval. And why? Because the city council has the purse strings, the mayor could enter into a contract, particularly with collective bargaining contract. So before, the mayor of Providence could just sign a collective
That
bargaining.
came out of the consent to create that document with the.
Right, and that's what happens, that's the issue. So,
Mr. Chairman,
so in this particular case, this is, I'm going to speak from the council, the issue is when there are legal issues or conundrums, the council does not have access to the experts, whether it's legal expert or other expert, unless the council does a full, public process, gets 2/3 votes, and then has to eventually get
it's a high bar.
expert, and by the way, it's done like that in my mind, to hamper the legislative branch of government, because you don't have access now. I'm gonna give to you, up in the state house, the Senate House, they have access to legal experts and other experts, that they need at their own discretion versus having to ask the governor, or do a full vote on the floor of the Senate House to acquire any type of expert help. And that, by the way, my mind, for good efficient government, it's fundamentally fair that the council doesn't have the authority.
Can't the council go to the city?
Well, I'm just using legal counsel, it's for all experts. The council has to go, it's a ceaseless, legal expert, other experts, the council actually has to do 2/3 vote to hire an expert.
Here's the issue. The council is a separate branch of government, which should have, at times, with no disrespect to the city solicitor, they answer to them. They should have legal counsel. I think that's it.
That's it.
If they need an expert to.
We have
study
contrary
something.
views on a tax policy. We have contrary views on a charter. Give an example, there's a charter problem. Administration says, you know what, we're not, that dog's not gonna hurt. The councilman has to go with 2/3, go to a public letting process, to hire a lawyer or hire an expert to enforce the charter provision. Because they did an interpretation, and therefore now we don't have any legal representation. So the difference is this, and here's my thing. When you go see a lawyer to give you advice, you'll have to take it. But in this particular situation, the city solicitor isn't just giving advice, they can actually stop you from legal representation. You go to see a lawyer that gives you advice, you don't like that lawyer, you go to another lawyer and hire that person. The council will stop you from hiring the lawyer, so says, no, we disagree with the council's position, we agree with the mayor's position, you are law. Then we have to go back to the council, do a special council meeting, file with an agenda, item, go to the council vote, get 2/3 of the floor to hire legal representation. I'm not saying it should happen, but it should be a lower bar, because then meanwhile, we're points of view.
So you're suggesting that it be a majority vote of the council to hire.
It should be simple. It's like it's simple, because we should be able to hire experts and then more simple, easier for us.
So, as much I agree with you on this, it portions. Really bad relations between the branches of government, with the city being bought, they extend city law.
Well, I'll give you an example. I mean,
So, you know,
You can
that's
say that
the
for
only-
the, you can say that for the state house, okay?
no, but.
Well, the attorney general represents us in a lot of areas.
Right, so generally
They don't really
speaking,
fight for the government that way.
the way the charter is written, the solicitor's office is legal counsel, I mean, practically, I mean, it's sometimes problematic. The city solicitor's office, the solicitor, is legal counsel, the city council, to the mayor, the boards and commission. And sometimes, as we know, positions are in conflict. Now, if we recall back in the 80s, or just prior to the charter being adopted, you had the retirement board hiring their own attorney, you had the solicitor providing advice, then you had them in court all battling to your point, Bob. And the case eventually went to the Supreme Court and said, the city solicitor is the legal counsel to the retirement board, but it didn't change the fact that, Dick Smolik representing the board, which was heavily dominated by the union, you have the solicitor battling with them, and then the board would be like, the retirement board would be like, listen to the solicitor, listen to the attorney that we hired, and it was great confusion and chaos. So it does lend itself to that, but I do understand the president's position that there may be an issue that administration disagrees. And, you have conflict between the council and the administration. And they're looking for legal advice, and the solicitor is legal counsel to both.
And I'm gonna go into that. I think I've seen it on a state, I think a little bit. I think this creates a prohibition from the legislative branch to have legal representation or expert advice when it needs it. By the way, all the respect to the bottom line is, although the 15 members are part-time members, the city council is the only body that has to do everything publicly, and it's the only body that votes, the only body that can raise taxes, approve the budget. And meanwhile, you're literally at the mercy where you have this great responsibility of keeping up with moving it forward, but yet you don't have access or easy access to the experts that you need to help you with that process. And that's a perfect example. And meanwhile, the mayor, they can get access to experts left and right on easy matter, no problem, but hire them left and right. And yet,
So accept it's a high bar.
so for us, the bar is super low for one branch, super high for another branch, and meanwhile, then,
So
the question is,
the mayor's got the city solicitor's office. The
And access to
contract, don't they have to be by the city council? The mayor wants to hire a company to study the tax assessment process.
certain ones go to Board of Conscious Supplies, right? Now, those contracts go to Board of Conscious Supplies. Yes. Right? And there's that process.
Isn't there a provision where certain accountants, financial advisors, and attorneys do not get to go? Because it's, you want a certain one with certain expertise on the certain. Right. So they don't, right, in that instances, have to go through a process.
The solicitor has the ability to appoint them.
Right.
And then I think what the council has done, in the past two administrations is ask for accountability as to what we're spending money on, and who the firm is and what they're doing and that has happened. And I think it started in the Maris administration that I'm aware of. It may have gone back even further, but I know that regularly the city solicitor will have to provide, names, how much has been spent, and even sometimes as to what they're working.
Like if a mayor chooses to, break up the union contract, and they have the support, right? But then they say that. Secretary has to say it happened more than once, to several administrations. You might decide to break a contract. The city solicitor at the time is choosing to go on the road to break the contract. And you might also hire law firms to push the break. And on the other hand, the council saying, you're breaking the contract, you're going to get us in trouble because it's money, because meanwhile, when the council, any say, the ability to say, it's a stop now. You have no ability to legal representation now. Remember, there was a mayor back in which the time awarded a retirement to an individual. And the mayor, the retirement board awarded, and then the mayor of the city solicitor's office go to court to block the awarding of the retirement. And he said he had the authority to do it.
Can we split the baby in the sense that it's and votes now in Iowa? Council can hire its own council. You're suggesting a simple.
It should be at least a simple majority.
What about 9 votes? Because it's trying to keep the city out of water. If it's a real serious issue, we should be able to muster.
But that also implies the fact that the wisdom of 8 or 9 councilmen.
We don't know who these people, council people, mayors are gonna be. That's it.
So here's the thing, so here's the thing, this is why I come up with it. So the wisdom of 8 council members is less than the wisdom of 1 mayor. The 1 mayor can, they can do what they want, they can hire 5, whatever they want.
And it's a strong executive form of government.
Exactly, well,
But
this
that's
is
what
what
it is, and that's what it's going to stay, and we can't really change that, but.
But if you change, take balance, but
So I think,
Wait, what did you
if the
say now?
voters, if the commission passed it and the voters approved it, we could change that by the way. I'm not advocating that we do.
Okay.
All right, but with that being said, so let's just take a step back. There's already a process here where the council can get its own outside representation, and that's been 2/3. And we know on the other side of things that the executive branch didn't just do it at FEMA, I mean, at will. So I think at least it should be 8, which is simple majority, if not less. Okay, I mean, because the council's, and by the way, even with the strong executive form of government, the council is a co-equal branch, co-equal. Yet the council, even with a simple majority, would still have a lengthier process to get the expertise and the advice and the rest that co-equal branch is necessary. And I think that's perhaps the check to ensuring that everything doesn't end up going up the court systems. Right?
So right now it's 10 council.
Yes, sir.
well, I'm gonna give you one other thing that you want.
Oh,
He's like, this is, here's something to think about. But yeah, to keep the government funded, send out tax bills, and to pay everybody in city government to pass a $568 million budget, you just need 8 council members. So one of the biggest votes, decisions possible we can make in the Senate branch, I just need a simple majority. But to hire an attorney, I can need 2/3. Excuse me, one of the biggest decisions, voting on a collective bargaining agreement that contractually obligates the city to millions and millions of dollars for the next 3 or 4 years, in some cases 5 years, only 8 votes. But yet, I need to have 2/3 to hire an
I
attorney.
think Bob was just 9.
If the wisdom of a simple majority can finally, and thank God, it's a simple majority to pass a budget.
Oh, I was thinking, I think, we're not on budget.
I know we're on 2 viewers here, but I gotta tell you something, thank God, because, but, so, I'm throwing out a tidbit, so I'm more inclined to make it simple majority, because I think the wisdom of the council, getting 8, you still have to muster up 8 supporters, you still have to convince, you still have to convert, so it's still a legislative process, still a public process. That's
All right, so what we're gonna do?
I'd like to see 8, so I'm gonna.
Well, put it on the thing and then we vote.
Exactly.
And then we'll vote for 8 or whatever.
Or 9.
We made the process.
Oh, so you have that, right?
Yeah, but what I'm not seeing is this 2/3. I mean, it's not in 603 from what I can see.
I'll read it, where's it say?
I mean, the chief legal advisor,
Where are you?
603.
Yeah, I know, you're in the wrong section.
Because with any such change to authorized by the city council, when it's by order.
No, go
Any
where,
such change to authorized by the city council shall be subject to. It should be somewhere else.
you know what it is, it's in the council policy.
This was submitted by Majority Leader Taylor.
In what section?
So
Yeah, no,
that's-
but he may be in the wrong section.
So
There you go. This is in section 401, legislative powers. To retain by 2/3 vote of the entire city council to fix the salaries of those consultants it deems necessary for the exercise of its function, including not limited to legal counsel, accountants, engineers, Another experts not regularly employed in any city department or services. City council have the power to appropriate funds and defray the costs. So even if you want to hire an accountant, an engineer. So we want to say, can you have an accountant that just with the books? And
Yes, I can support that.
So we're talking like 401. That's the section we're talking about. And we're not necessarily saying the person that should, city solicitor should be, I get that, but, so that's what I'm looking to make, so. I mean, I'm. So, I think we got to, I'm gonna go to this one here, but real quick, the school board, I don't think we know, I don't want to get into it right now.
It's
but-
gonna be a separate meeting, Sean's gonna make a
Yeah.
presentation.
We've gotten a lot of inquiries about a potential elected school board process. I just want to skip it. Sean presented what the public has mentioned to him, actually, a lot of different people, so he's got some proposals on, we'll talk about it. Okay? I don't want to get into second. We're gonna have a separate meeting. Number 803 was operating budget. Mason's proposed budget to the city council 75 rather than 60 prior to the start of the fiscal year. I felt why.
They said they didn't have numbers from the state. Over here, what they has provided us. Said, that's probably-
Wasn't it something also, did administration want to do that too, or no?
It is the administration's request.
Yeah, right? Didn't it go through that?
They requested another 2 weeks approximately.
Yeah, I don't see a problem with that.
But yeah, I would have to defer to the council, but you have enough time if they submit it to you 2 weeks later to get the tax.
Oh, I
bill
see.
July 1st. So maybe that's one of those.
Okay.
There's no matter.
This increases time from 60 to 75.
When actually, just, in reality, the city council actually has until the end of July to pass the levy of the budget. Actually.
Right, but it throws off that whole.
No. Oh, let me say, when I first started my journey, the first, as you, I don't know if you remember, you used to get your tax bill, your first quarter was due like in October.
Oh, well,
I mean, I'm just saying, and then what's happened now what we're racing now is because it's cash flow issues. We need to get the bills out before June, so we can get the first quarter out in July. So I'm just
I'm
talking about,
gonna defer to the council recommendation on this, if they're comfortable with it.
I mean,
Keeping it to the-
I don't know what that
keeping it
means.
The way it is,
I don't know if it helps or hinders.
I guess council more.
no, I didn't know if the council left time. It's, the administration's asking for 2 additional weeks. So the question is, if we grant the administration 2 additional weeks, does it put the council in a bad place to get?
Well, the way this is written, it gives the council 2 additional.
Right.
Yeah, we need to know what this means.
I think it's the Venus recommendation,
Yes.
so they could study the budget, that would, an additional 2 weeks.
All right, I'm
If,
sorry.
if everybody's fine with that, both administration and legislature, I'm fine with it. Can you confirm that?
Yeah, well, my finding is.
So the external law.
Yes, so. It's a really financial plus. But
And 804 is, that's got to do with the, there's only, there you go. Cover your ears. There's only one department in city government that's exempt from the personnel ordinances, and that's the mayor's office. They're the only one that doesn't have to show what they do, how they do it. the money is spent. So, by the way, just want you to know, it was somehow help with transparency. So by charter, the mayor's actually exempt from, right?
Are you proposing that you determine the salaries or?
No.
Or is this proposal that they have to report to you the next one?
No, I suppose it's just like the council submits its budget with all the appropriate appropriations and classifications.
So you're in a
Also-
separation of powers issue. They should be able to design, the mayor should be able to
No,
design,
he can.
design without council approval. But they should, the mayor's office, the executive should tell the council, hey, I have a chief of staff, I have a chief of staff, what do I have?
Well, because what he has right now is the mayor just has one line item. Yes, I feel how many millions we have, X. And then of course, actually for the council colleagues, go, the council's not transparent with their budget, when we the ones that actually have to itemize and detail everything in our budget publicly, and yet the mayor just gets a, how many million, $10 million. And
You got all the money, so I don't think the council should say to the mayor, your chief of staff shouldn't make that figure. Your deputy, whatever, should make that. I do think that there should be some openness and transparency that whatever they're making, the council should know in some form of report, but not for review and approval. Just the growth, the brand. The brand. Right, because it's a separation of power. Who is the council to tell the mayor how many positions they he or she should have, or what those positions should be? But you could, you do approve the grand total. It's $1 million. If it's 10 million, it's 10 million.
So let me ask you.
Well, what about, how about all the people they have in departments that you don't know about, assigned to days off, paid out of other departments?
Exactly.
That's a story for another day.
Steve, by the way, thank you for being fair on that one. I'm sorry. Oh, does the government just get a loan from the state legislature?
You know, I,
Does it just get taxed and they guys go, well, can
there's,
you find out from?
that's a good question.
By the way, if it's good for the goose, I get it. Again, I'm just
Can
curious.
ask it,
Does
can
the
ask the
government
finance
finance,
people.
if they just get taxed and
Well, regardless of what they're doing there, I just think. Well, you can't hamstring the mayor. You want to give all these directors terms, bring them in here, review them. Now you want to tell them how much he needs to pay his individuals and how to structure his office. I can't.
Well, can I
say,
do a happy meeting for you? Then could the council just have one then? Then just would not, the council should get the same? Can the council be
I
exempt?
don't know why the council.
Can the council be exempt from the?
I think technically, look, the executive is one person. Wait, the executive is one person.
I'm just trying to,
The
you know,
council, you need a majority because it's a council, which means more than one person, right? So the more than one persons determine what those pays are going to be. So it's the same thing, except there's no one person, the council president or the finance director isn't solely responsible or, empowered to do that. The way the executive is just, you don't have 3 mayors, you have 1. And that's. the difference.
sometimes that's about 15 years.
Yeah, it's just harder to be on the council, but
That's
there's
fair.
more responsibility in a lot of ways of running the day-to-day government. in the executive. So, anyhow, that's, but I don't think it should be a secret. It shouldn't be this, hidden. And I don't think it is. I think Gina Casa said it's not. Find out. Maybe it is. And I don't know if that's a shock. It's true.
Wishes? Contract? Okay, let's move on.
Thank you.
What are we doing with this one then? So,
I'm sorry. I'm tired. But it's kind of funny nuance to the child. By the way, I have to give the genius of one of the founding fathers of Charlie Vesalilla.
Yeah, you wrote this.
He
God, that's just
So he was
good
good.
man and very bright.
I don't even know what 806 is. We'll do 806 and we'll end it. It's getting late, all right?
Please.
I'm sorry, so
We'll do the last one on this page. It's getting.
Yeah.
just for
What
the
is
record,
806? man?
are you going to revisit 804 or what are we doing with that one?
No.
No? Okay.
I think you had a.
Give it a little, move on.
I think we had a very robust conversation. I would 806 is failure to pass appropriations at actuarial determined pension company's required payment. I think we're getting in the weeds in that one. This is what I know. And what I know when I'm reading this, I don't know what this one really is about. But what happens is, as you know, the budget consists of several ordinances, right? There's the levy that actually sets the rates, the tax rates, and allows the city, the council giving the city authority to actually raise revenue. The other budget articles is how you spend the money, right? So there are times, actually, with this administration, we did it in concurrence, they wanted to, we passed the levy to get the taxes out, but then the administration wanted to hold back on the budget, they wanted to rework a few pieces, and then we passed the budget like a couple weeks later. It doesn't have any harm to follow, because what happens is by the charter, you have to pass a levy, or the city cannot, that's something, it's not something you can hold off. It's, you don't pass the levy, it doesn't go back to the old levy. But the budget, if you don't pass the budget, it just reverts back to the original budget, and it stays, and government keeps on moving. So I don't know what this is about, but it seems to me that that's been working quite well. I've seen it in action. I've seen it. It's been a tool both used by the executive and the legislative branch, separately and together. And so,
Who submitted this actuarial issue?
This, I think, was all with the finance department. What they were doing is they're adding some language, is what they were putting in.
so
I think what this is saying is that in 806, they're calling for adding the ARC as a requirement. Right? So.
yeah, but you'd have to pay that anyway. Yeah, but I think now that's getting into the weeds, because we just don't happen to have an issue like that, pension payment because of that.
Yeah, no, that's
Right, and that becomes, the idea that you put this in here, so all future, they make sure you pay the bottom line is, you, now, what do the next? Make sure you pay the electric bill. I mean, I think you're getting caught up in stuff that.
Right,
I'm just saying-
how do we determine what the op is? How's that
Yeah.
determined? And I think that's what it's getting.
Yeah.
How is that? If anybody knows on top of that.
Well, I actually, yeah.
In their yearly actual report, will provide what the payment is for this year. I think.
And is this adjustment saying that whatever it is, they say we have to, the city will have to pay that? And what does the city do now? Ignore that, make whatever contribution they want?
Makes a.
Yeah, but how does it know what the payment is? It's the op, that's what the actuary recommends.
Oh, yeah, we have, yeah.
I don't think we should put it.
I think it's too cumbersome, it's too.
Could you do that? Could you do that by ordinance? That was a problem.
Yes.
Why not?
That's an order.
Maybe we should put that in the recommendation of it.
I like that.
Tighten that up. And you want, yeah,
Some of that right now is included in the consent judgments. Anyway, that, the city has to continue to pay the annual ARC payments as recommended, so we'd be in violation of consent judgment, just so you know. Those are-
Yeah, right. So then that becomes, so that's a court order.
The world said.
But I see the gentleman, and I think he wants to, just for the general, this is not a public hearing, but.
That's a good one.
And-
That's a good one.
A lot of this stuff.
We all set? Hang on one moment, okay? This is not a public hearing, but you said it.
I was
I think you,
invited.
and I think you want to speak some, customer even opportunity. Could I just ask you, could you state your name,
Yes,
the record, and where you live in this,
yes,
and then tell us, if it's concerning the charter, let us know.
yes, it is. So my name is DeMar Combs. I'm not from Providence, not from New York, but I live in Providence, Rhode Island. I was invited here, so that's why I'm actually here.
I just let him know we were having the meeting, that it's
Oh,
open to the public.
oh.
So I was
No,
under my impression.
The
that I
meeting,
was
the meeting's
invited,
open to
I
the
was on
public, but
agenda.
it's not a public hearing. We're not receiving comment. That's what the charrettes are for. Because we're trying to be focused, but if you have a particular
Yes,
issue you want
I
to talk
do.
about anyone.
Yes, I did.
So if you can make it brief, but I want you to know that we're having, like, we just had a public charrette where the public is a real, in the weeds engagement. This is about us receiving the information and the commissioner kind of going out through the weeds of the stuff, but Do you have something you want to submit?
Yes,
Folks,
I
and tell us
do.
what it's about?
I'm actually not by myself here. I'm actually representing artists and a couple of people from the city.
Sure.
And want to address two ordinances
Okay.
of main concern.
Is this the only one you have?
That's, but I have
Okay.
other things to show you.
Okay, great, okay.
So we wrote a letter out to the commission, and I have the letters actually. So you can show the rest of the commission, the copies of the letters.
Sure. Why don't you give it to the clerk and we'll, why don't you just tell us generally what's it about and this one became.
Yes, so the reason that I'm here is we're addressing an equity issue here in Providence, Rhode Island, where we're trying to get double the amount of money from the RFPs, which is bid 21-27. We're asking to change that from $5,000 to $10,000. And I'm also asking in the other one to address mailing of checks to vendors. I believe that ordinance is outdated because it doesn't include direct deposit.
I think we talked about the water contract.
That has been suggested to raise the amount.
We determined it could be done outside of the shop. That's
So.
definitely something that we actually talked about raising much higher.
Right.
On that issue, but it might be something. What we
I
decided.
know Sean, I wasn't here that night, so I think Sean was meeting with the folks. To kind of sift through all of this so we could do it via ordinance as opposed to the job.
And I think,
It's in the charter, but you can change it even though it's in the charter for the.
All right,
charter
that's
language.
what it is. The charter says the
Allows it.
council allows every so often. to
Yeah.
change it.
right.
And we actually have that on our second page when we meet again,
Oh,
the border contract.
So we are looking at that particular issue and actually we're gonna be, we talked about it actually. We don't know if we're gonna change it yet because I don't know, we didn't know what the numbers were and how it all plays out. Because the one thing I do know, I know I was concerned about is that if you make the number too high, and then you can have directors who don't get vetted by the council.
No, I don't want
By the
the
way,
numbers to be
and
so
all of a
high.
sudden, they are unilaterally, dishing out non-bidding, non-competitive bid contracts, $10,000, $15,000. That traditionally is a recipe for disaster where, because remember, that's the reason why they have all these types of, I know, the purchasing rules and regs from the state on down is to make sure that the public knows that so-and-so, what department is gonna enter into a contract to so-and-so, and this way it's never, that person gives it to so-and-so all the time, and no one knows. Yeah, I guess the best way I can put it, you know what I mean?
I completely
Which
totally
creates a-
understand what
I
you're
know-
saying.
It hasn't been changed in 30
But it has been
years.
changed, so we are talking about increasing the value, we just didn't know what it was yet.
Yes, so I have signatures from the members of the city and the Recreation Committee and Hospital and Tourism as well.
Sure. Just give it to clerk and we'll submit them all to.
Great.
And so are you asking that it gets raised to 10,000?
To a minimum of 10,000. So.
Which actually our amendment is to go to, we have higher amounts.
Yeah, we made it.
25, yeah.
That's actually wonderful.
That's what
news.
that's what we're thinking about. We haven't, commission hasn't finished up with the follow. So I don't want to make, I'm not making any promises because we're not there yet,
Mhm.
but we are considering it and we have testimony. Which, what do you call it? Talking about that particular issue.
It's actually very wonderful news. It took a lot for me to get here from an artist. So I did work for the city last year. And it took about 4 months for me to get paid from the city. So I went to the mayor and I went to Arts, Coast and Tourism and I spoke with them. And after speaking with them, we reviewed the charters and we found a couple of discrepancies. And I simply asked a question, which was, how is it that, what happens after you sign a contract with the city? Like, what is the entire process until payment? So that's where I'm still working with the city, representing artists, even though this issue is bigger than artists, it affects everyone who's a vendor. And I've been working with the city to bring this issue to you to show that this is something, but I'm very happy that you guys are already working on it. One of the issues I do realize is that direct deposit is one of the things that does need to happen in the ordinance. I know that they do have it available, but it's not an ordinance. What they're doing is they're sending the checks out in the mail. I think they were delayed even during COVID, on top of a lot of other issues that are happening. So I'm working with the city to get all this changed. The reason that it's been difficult is because artists, specifically artists in the community, thought that if we came forward and talked about coming to the city, that they would get blackballed. So
Oh, yeah.
it seems like that at first, but I have been booked by the city since I started this process.
Did you see PVD Fest?
Yeah, I was at PVD, but I wasn't booked by PVD.
Oh, okay.
Last year, I did 5 events for the city
Oh,
with
I
no
see.
issue.
Oh, I
This
see.
year, I've done
Well, I can
zero.
tell you, the council doesn't run the PVD festival, we just fund it. So I can tell you that. So, we don't run it, we just fund it, so we don't, and we're not involved in.
I think,
But I
just
understand.
just for clarity, raising it to 10,000 a high, speed up the get the contract. But it won't affect how long it takes the city to pay that. I think you know that, right?
Yes.
So,
And that's what I'm
I'm
saying.
thinking of a question, which is direct deposit. Is it that the city doesn't do that type of?
We know the
process?
city definitely does that. So the city does that.
So
But
then,
isn't payroll in the city?
so he mentioned that,
Right.
Well, according to that ordinance, it says that when you sign a contract with the city, you have to send a check in the mail to the person.
oh,
So direct
so
deposit,
therefore, this may be an ordinance change.
yes, that's what I'm.
I see. Not a charge change. So the ordinance may go, okay, I get it. So then I, if that's the case, then Solicitor, if you could pull up those ordinances, and if it has no conflict with the charter, maybe that's another proposed ordinance change to submit to the council.
I can propose that.
Well, I know, but you want to make sure,
Whether they can work
I
on
do
it.
have to do charter and the ordinance, or just we do the ordinance? I just wanted to have it before, that's all.
Right, so
I think, I think we got it. Did we get what you?
Yes.
Talking about, I want to make sure.
that's pretty much it on that end. Just to let you guys know, I am working with the city to help speed up that process. They haven't gotten me all the information yet. This has been going on like 6-7 months now. So, I appreciate you guys' time. I'm glad that you guys
If you-
already working.
If you can just give your name and contact information to Claire,
We've been emailing.
and then maybe you can also forward it to the treasurer of the internal audit and see what the story is. Maybe they can, if there's some held up, let's find out the stories, maybe if it can accommodate, if there's any way they can go about, okay?
Okay,
And I just make sure this, I would ask this items be submitted for the record as exhibits 24 and 25.
So make that motion, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Second, all in favor? Aye. Anything else, sir?
now I understand what happened.
Oh, no, I submitted the items to the record.
Thank you.
They'll be part of the official record.
Oh, perfect.
Maybe public.
Whenever you get a chance, can you just update me on this one?
Claire is the contact. She's in charge of us all.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, and I'll contact.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming. And I didn't know, I probably could have had you earlier. I didn't try that. But we don't, I'm doing a little one over
Sorry,
here.
just wanted to listen to it.
Well, I enjoyed the conversation because I've been reviewing the charter for a while now, and they were lost. But because I've been reviewing the charters, I actually followed along to what you guys were saying. I didn't know that there was actually a bid. So we thought that it only happens every 10 years, which is actually like, I was like, oh my gosh. Because how do you get the charter changed if there's an outdated one? Or if there's an outdated ordinance, we literally were like, oh, we gotta wait 10 years. But then you said here, and I didn't read it before, that we need 3,000 signatures to bring that forward to the charter.
Well, yeah, this is to bring it forward to the council, and the council begins the process. That's what it is. So,
Here's the thing, I think.
well, should we stay on the records till we find out? This is on my account. I'm sorry.
Pick up the charter as the United States Constitution. How often is that? Hardly. How often do they pass laws? Every day. So 99% of what can be addressed like you just brought it to the match.
Yeah.
Could be addressed by the council and the mayor, passing it on its may, sign it, and all of that process. the charter's not supposed to be changed like all the time. It's a governing document. It's supposed to be small. That's why we're going through this list and trying to not put too much in and complicate it and keep it small, because what we don't need in the charter, the elected government officials will do the city council and the through ordinances.
So,
And
so
they do that every day.
you're saying that the mayor has the power to change this stuff or the
No,
city
I'm
council?
saying that ordinances are passed by the city council and signed by the mayor. They have nothing to do with the charter. They just can't violate the charter.
Or, the charter is the constitution, and the ordinances are law. Think of it that way.
City law.
So, city law, so we call, instead of calling them city laws, we call them city ordinances. Instead of calling it the city constitution, we call it the city charter. Okay, so that, view it that way, and then, and some of these things, like the mayor could submit proposed changes in the city ordinances. He has to submit to the council, and then it goes to the committee, gets publicly vetted, and the council can vote. That's how you do it. Or the council can do it on our own.
Well, the mayor has appointments on this part, the executive branch, and the council. Both branches are discussing changes to the city charter. The reason it requires 3,000 signatures, they want this to be something easy, not this to be something that really has to be.
I understand. Thank you guys so
Oh,
much.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time. Thank you.
Thank you.
This is Beverly.
Come on, all right. Please state your name. for the
My
record.
name is Beverly Robinson.
Was it Robinson?
Robertson.
Robertson.
In behalf of the artists, I'm from Providence, Rhode Island, and I'm an artist. I'm also a poet and designer. When they have the art, culture, and tourism, I even have the mayor's name, Renanza. I would say his name kind of. Renanza, the mayor's name. Renanza, am I saying his name
The
right?
Lord Mayor. The Lord Mayor.
Yes, I had the mayor's wall. I was also with the Violent Council of the Arts, but my work was also there, the Black exhibit from Mr. Rosenbaum, so he knows me as well. And I was also at ASU, when ASU also published, they publish the art, they also support the arts. So, and the demand on his behalf, I'm also an artist, and I'd like to support the arts in his behalf as well.
Thank
And
you.
my work is also on Etsy.com.
All
Where
right.
I sell art and design cards.
Well, we're on
So-
face page.
Yeah.
Tube image, right? What are we on?
So,
Tube image?
so my
First page.
goal, and my dream come true is to make it into the card and stationery business. And I'm also going to be showing my work also at Rizzi, where I school design. So she also likes my different name is, I can't think, maybe Deborah, can't think of her last name. So she supports the arts as well. So I'm going to be having my art show there at Gallery Night.
All right.
So all the artists here in Providence, so now I do like to support the arts, and the arts also like to support me. So I'm helping him out this way to support the arts.
Great, thank you.
Okay.
Would you like to say something real quick, sir?
Sure.
Go on. Can you state your name? If you don't have to say it. We don't want to guilt. We want to. You don't want to, it's okay, but if you do, you're more than welcome. Just state your name for the record.
I was CEO so I know that the city does pay employees in a timely fashion. I know that what Demont has been fighting for a period of time is contractors, artists who were basically outsourced by the city. There's been concerns where it's taken months for them to get paid. I don't know exactly what that is caused by, but I know that that's what Demont is fighting for. And, that's why I came to support and, yeah,
Okay,
Thank
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right. Thank you, my folks, for attending. I hope you enjoyed our conversation. Our table talk conversation. Any other business, anything else you want to talk about, Commissioner Bill?
Great meeting.
Okay. All right, do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Second, discussion, all in favor? Be well.
Yeah.
See you all later. Thank you. Be safe out there. Oscar's in trouble.
Looks like it'll be
Yeah.
Very, very important. So I'll let them know.
Yeah, let's wrap this budget up.